Another fine night was passing. Despite the mess going around, we were feeling alright. Didn't have anything to complain about, really. Marjot got up, fed the injured buffalo, milked it too, and had herself a meal. She was working on hauling some of the steel we'd bought. Cold snap was still on. Critters were filing in here, trying to find food. Since apparently we had more than the outside world. A couple boom rats blew up on our traps. I had to take care of that. We decided we'd close our outside doors, prevent any further issues. It wasn't the best situation since all of our outer traps were down due to the mechanoid assault. I decided to do some butchering, get rid of them boom rat corpses. And Marjot was hauling in mechanoids. She decided to take a break, have herself a beer, and I envied her, but I kept on working. I had to rebuild the traps while she hauled the bodies, and that took the better part of the day. She chilled out inside and watched some TV, just as I was finishing up. And then she brought the last body in, so I decided to sit down and have myself a beer. It was darn cold outside, I can tell you that. I was shivering, but beer was good, so I wasn't complaining for too long. But when I went to bed, we definitely warmed things up. Marjot got up first again in the morning, about 6 a.m. She had to feed the injured buffalo. When I got up, it was time to continue building some traps. Marjot was about done figuring out how to make mortars finally. And I was doing some repairs on our outer walls. Now that all the traps were rebuilt, there was a whole slew of mechanoids that needed taken apart. But I'd get to that. I wanted everything in good order in terms of security before I started doing resource work again. So I repaired walls, and I cut down plants in our secondary gun room. And then I built a shelf as well. We were going to have to build ourselves a mortar. Be nice to have some mortar shells next to it. I decided to feed that down buffalo. I was feeling pretty bad for the thing. Seemed like it should recover though, and we'd done our best for it. Marjot was outside, having herself a beer, despite the cold. Probably could use a few more heaters inside. We hadn't anticipated this extreme cold. We were getting by just fine. There was an eclipse on, and our buffalo was fully healed, despite missing a jaw, which was apparently going to be a problem for it forever. But it didn't seem to really hinder it, so there wasn't much we could do. Marjot figured out how to make mortars finally. She started next working on something far more advanced, the ship reactors. I planned on building one of those mortars. Seemed like that'd be a good play if anybody came. Tried to attack us from afar, we'd have a way to strike back. The buffalo were having a hard time with the food and the cold snap. They'd eaten everything in the close vicinity. But we had some corn out, so I let them at that. They seemed happy. I built the mortar, broke down the mechanoids, started working on advanced components, of which we were going to need quite a few. And the cold snap ended about that time, which is fantastic. Marjot decided to smelt down a bunch of the junk guns we had laying around. We could sell them for money, but it turns out we'd probably need the steel before this is over. We were running a little short. We still had a whole ship to build. So she worked on that while I made advanced components. She said we were going to need a whole bunch of them. She went to bed and I followed. She was a little crabby, saying she felt like she'd been stuck indoors. And we were both sick of sleeping in the cold. Fortunately, that cold snap had ended. Place is still kind of a mess. We didn't spend as much time cleaning as we should, being that we were so busy. Certainly wouldn't be a bad thing to have a little cleaning robot or something. There was a bunch of pigs outside eating those dead aliens. I wasn't sure what to think about that. But without killing all the pigs, there wasn't much I could do about it. Certainly wasn't going to build another fence, I can tell you that. And then a poison ship crashed nearby. Not terribly near, but not far enough for our liking. We decided to go out there and crack into it and see what would pop out. We could use some of the items that were in there. So I went and shot it. Tried to anyway. I kept hitting the wall, so I had to move forward a bit. And looked like there were 5 mechanoids popped on out of there. We decided maybe we'd leave that as a little security buffer against people coming to attack us. We'd have to keep our animals out of there, that's for sure. But otherwise, they probably wouldn't bug us. It's gonna kill off a lot of the plant life around here, but didn't really need that at the minute. Once our crops are grown, I'd say we'd be done growing stuff till we get off this rock, so it doesn't much matter. So we ran inside, left them where they were. Kind of disgusted by the mess everywhere. Perhaps we'd have to take a cleaning day here. I did some butchering and got back to making advanced components. Marjot did some cleaning as well. And she decided to work with the muffalo for a while. And the pigs were just swarming all them dead alien bodies. Apparently they loved the taste or something. I decided to plant some more hops. It'd be a crime to run out of beer before we left. And then I hit the hay. Nothing to complain about whatsoever for once. Marjot came to bed too. She didn't have anything special to complain about. I'd done some planning where to put some ship components per Marjot's suggestion. So when I was done with the hops, I was going to put some effort into the ship. Mostly to keep track of what we're all going to need for resources here. And I decided to take a walk around. We'd built a really nice place here, despite it almost being destroyed by aliens once. Creating some bad memories. It was otherwise really awesome to be here. I worked on advanced components. Marjot was making great progress on that starship reactor stuff. And the aliens are out there, just being jerks. The other group of mechanoids are out there too. Maybe they're not alien to this planet. Maybe we're the aliens here. Either way, we'll be out of here soon. Marjot had to spend some time taming the muffalo. There was still a chance I'd need to go out and do some resource gathering with those. Do some trading. See what we could get. I hit the hay about 11 o'clock. Spent the day making advanced components. And Marjot came to bed as well after that. When we got up, I decided to replant the corn before that poison ship killed it all off. And Marjot was just taking a walk, hauling stuff in, trying to be useful. Just taking a little break from sitting inside all day researching. I kept focusing on the corn. Marjot worked with the animals. She was making fantastic progress, so I couldn't complain about that. I decided to chill out, watch the moon come up. Marjot was researching. Another day was past, almost over here. We both did our thing for a while, and then we were off to bed. We were having busy days, but just not a lot was happening, it seemed like. Makes your time go by in a weird way. Marjot kept researching. I kept building advanced components. Taking breaks once in a while to do a little cleaning, do some eating. There's a combat supplier overhead, so I decided to give them a ring. We had some guns that we sold them, an old club, God knows what they'd want to do with that, but they didn't really have anything for us to purchase. So that was that. We got a little silver out of it. We'd be needing silver if we were going to have to buy uranium or plasteel or something. Marjot was tossing horseshoes, and then she did a little cleaning. She got back to research after that. And I kept right on making advanced components. It's getting quite a stack of them here. That poison ship is spreading its snowy waste down there. Pretty disgusting. We had a meal together. I had a tea. Then we were off to bed. And about that time, some boomerangs went mad nearby. Didn't really affect us though, other than taking out some traps and starting a fire again. But I went out to deal with that just quickly enough before our doors burnt up. I was gonna have to reconsider where I was putting out fires. Expand my zone a little bit on that. But I got it done. Another trap to rebuild. Marjot was coming out to haul the dead boomerhead out. And the boomerhead hadn't attacked the mechanoids just south of us. There were still more of them around, blowing up other traps. Dirty little buggers. I was gonna have to deal with that as well, along with the fire. There's always something around here. We got somebody wanting to talk peace quests with us. We didn't care too much. Hidden behind our security wall here. I was tossing horseshoes. Marjot was researching. Life is going on. Turns out one of them boomerats had run on into those other mechanoids. Blew up a bunch of stuff. It certainly was a mess in there. All the aliens were dead. Not the aliens, maybe the insects, whatever the heck they were. All dead. Some fella was laying there suffering. Looked like the cannibal type though. We just went about our business. Hopefully these mechanoids keep us safe somehow. And there was another combat supplier overhead. Once again though, didn't have a lot to interact with here. We didn't really want any more weapons. Although ours were getting pretty worn out, so we'd have to think about something here before too long. And with that, we were back to bed for another day. Next morning I had to do some cooking. Marjot kept right on researching. She was hell-bent on getting through that as fast as she could. And I worked on some cooking. Also some intermittent cleaning. Marjot did the same before getting back to the research. She was getting close to figuring out how to make a reactor, which I found intriguing. She could figure something like that out. I took a break from cooking and watched some TV. The news is nothing but doom and gloom. Telling everybody to stay inside, avoid going out. Dirty aliens will kill you if you do. I've been doing some thinking and I was going to start building that spaceship now. In part to see what we had for resources on hand. Marjot finished a ship reactor. And we can hear a big group of aliens coming for us once again. We thought maybe they'd go after the mechanoids, leave us the heck alone, since the two seemed to fight all the time anyway. But nonetheless, we had to be prepared. I hadn't even really got to build anything for the ship. We had to get our animals inside, lest they die for the umpteenth time. And the aliens sure the heck fell for our kill area. Some of them went for the mechanoids, but they didn't stand up very much, I tell you that. Aliens do some real damage, but so do the mechanoids, it turns out. Man, our kill box took care of itself. We didn't even have to fire a single shot, and most of the bastards were dead. This is a mighty level of security. Before the last one even went down, more of the buggers showed up. These ones were headed south, though. Looked like they might be going for the mechanoids down there. We decided we were just gonna go to bed. There's no sense standing around. We just stay inside, let our base defend us, and see what happened. There's gonna be a battle, that much was for sure. And sure enough, the insects, mechanoids had it out. Turns out though, the aliens, they're not immune to fire. The mechanoids are. So, there you go. It was the aliens that got the worst of that. As their bodies burned, we decided we'd have to get our area cleaned up. We had to stop ignoring the mess that was in there now that all the aliens were dead, thanks to the mechanoids. So, planned some hauling. I had a whole bunch of traps to rebuild, once again, don't you know. I built some ship structure. Marjot was off to bed. Nothing to complain about. I was worried about the mess around here. Some more aliens showed up about that time. These ones looked like they were going to come for us. And some of the ones that had gone down inside our zone, gotten back up. There's all kinds of aliens coming for us. 3 different groups. They seem to just want to run in and get themselves killed though. Which is fine with us. We could safely ignore the bastards. Those things are vicious, evil, mean, and scary. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. But there you go. Once again, our base defended us all on its own. There was another alien creeping, but pretty sure he's gonna meet his demise. Whenever one of them would stand up, the guns would cut loose on it. It was a dirty mess in there. But, hey, we were safe. There's still some of them writhing on the ground. I have to be careful about that. Marjot decided she was just going to go out there and burn a bunch of them. Maybe we could avoid having to haul all these things out of there if we just burn them right where they are. So she went and started tossing Molotov cocktails into them. In a frenzy too, man. She hated those things worse than I did. And if our sandbags burnt up, well, that wasn't the end of the world. Seems like whenever we get a big fire going, always starts raining anyway. So she chucked Molotovs till a good chunk of them buggers were burning. And then she called it, just to see how it would turn out. Wouldn't hurt to have more disgusting bodies gone, though, that's for sure. She was gonna run outside now. I had to fix the gun when I got up. Man, those aliens were burning hot. I could see the flames over the walls. Marjot was hiding. Turns out one of them was alive in there somewhere. We had to get the ones out of the trap corridors and rebuild the traps. So I was gonna have to work on that. In the meantime, though, I was trying to get part of that ship done. Eventually it did start raining, the fires went out. On the plus side, it cleaned up a lot of the alien acid blood for us, so that was fantastic. I built another section of ship structure. And then I had to build some crypto sleep caskets for us. Don't much like the idea, thought, spending so much time in something called a casket. But I guess it is what it is. Marjot's chilling out having a beer. Feeling pretty proud with herself for having gotten rid of most of them bodies the easy way. The pigs are hanging out, just waiting for fresh meat. A mad cougar nearby. And we'd have to deal with that thing. Really all I did was run away and let the gun shoot it up. Kind of problem solved on its own there. Marjot was in bed. She's a little crabby, so she'd had a beer. And she decided to get up and do some hauling of these alien bodies. I went and tossed some horseshoes in the rain. Turns out I was pretty disgusted too with all the stuff I'd seen lately. And with that, I headed on in for bed. Another day done. I was soaking wet. That was my only major complaint. Some of them giant thrombos showed up about then. We thought about aggravating the things to see if we could get them to go after some of the mechanoids nearby. Probably wouldn't be too hard. But also seemed like there's a good chance one of them could get a hold of us. And those things kick our butts. I had myself a meal. It's about 9 a.m. I got back to the work, building traps. Marjot had a ton of research to do yet. She said it was going to take a few days. She focused on that. And I had all the traps rebuilt, doors fixed, sandbags. I was going through the business. Getting the walls repaired once again. That acid blood eats up everything. Day was over though. Marjot had researched all day, and I'd rebuilt the traps. I was a little buzzy from the beer. We had a little fun that night. Marjot chilled out and had a beer in the morning. She's always talking about the 6 a.m. beer, the 7 a.m. beer, whatever the heck she calls it. Those mechanoids down in the south really had a mess on their hands. The ones right below us, they were doing alright. They hadn't been assaulted yet. I decided to chill out next to one of them crazy tea plants. Do some cloud watching. It was alright. Marjot was just researching away. After that, all my work was done. I got back to building advanced components. Decided maybe I'd make them caskets next. Once again, as much stuff as we had resources for, I was going to try and build. See if we could get the resources reserved. Not run out later. One thing at the time, though. Turns out we were out of uranium. A big bad way. And that was most unfortunate. Wasn't sure what to do about that. We hit the hay anyway. Marjot had been researching. She was feeling stuck indoors. And I'd been running around. Some more travelers were passing by. Hopefully they stay away. Don't get themselves killed by mechanoids. Marjot made some progress on the research. I was making advanced components. Decided to get to work on different parts of the ship. I had the skill, we had the material. So I drank a garden tea. Thought about doing some cleaning inside our house. Marjot kept right on researching. And then I built the last couple pieces of the ship I could build with the materials that we had on hand. And it was time to have a beer after that. Still a little work to do, but I decided I'd try and finish it up before bed. Marjot kept right on researching. So we had a sensor cluster, ship computer core. I didn't leave a lot. In the night, it had occurred to me at some point I'd seen some uranium around somewhere. So after doing some searching, I ended up finding it. And since we were out of uranium, it would need it to build the rest of this ship. I decided I'd get on down there and do some mining. I couldn't really swim through the ocean, not with this gear. So I had to go on the side the mechanoids were, but they shouldn't be able to see me if I'm smart. So I ran down and started doing the mining. I could hear them things chittering away. Sound like giant chipmunks or something. Then I made a big patch. Uranium. I'd have to have Marjot come help me haul it all so I wouldn't have to keep coming down here. She was busy having a meal, working with the muffalo. Well, she ran on out to join me anyway. You had to remember to take the smart way back. We were going to run by together. Try and avoid getting wet. Try and avoid attracting the attention of these mechanoids. So we grabbed what we could and hauled ass. And uranium. And they saw us and they started making a little bit of a move towards us, but We just skated on by. There was still some extra uranium down there. Maybe 100 or so. So if we ran out again, we'd have an option. We'd gotten 178 total now. Marjot was working with the Muffalo. I did a little cooking, butchering, and I was back to work on the advanced components. I went and finished up that other casket and started seeing what I could do to build the engine. I guess it's a reactor, not an engine. Somebody contacted us saying they were locked in prison, had an escape plot. We just ignored it. We were so excited to be getting close to getting off this rock. I went to bed about the usual time. Marjot was all caught up in her research. She stayed up late working on it, then she hit the hay. And when I got up, decided to work on the reactor. Get as much done as we possibly could here. There's some repairs to do yet. And the hops were also due, so I had to pluck those out. This would be the last time I grew hops. That I could be certain here. I had myself some chocolate. Planned on some cleaning. Everything was such a disgusting mess. I felt like I was all over the board, but I also feel like it was the excitement. Marjot chilled out, watched some TV. Somewhere an animal was getting killed outside. We chose to ignore it. The horror of this place, we'd already seen too much. Marjot decided to go pick up all the hops. I decided to make a bunch of beer. Seemed like it'd be useful. And we had a ton of hops, so should be able to get all of our fermenting barrels filled. And then I hit the hay. Not a darn thing to complain about for once. And Marjot hit the hay as well. Turns out all those animals dying had been pigs stepping on our traps. Dirty little buggers. I took out a ton of them. We were going to have to close our doors to keep these pigs from trying to come inside. Whatever they were smelling, chasing after. Hopefully we could put an end to it. Some marble fell nearby, right out of the sky. But we don't really need that. I started butchering up the pigs. A little bit of pork wouldn't be a bad thing, I suppose. And there was a trade ship, but they didn't have anything for us. So we passed. Bulk goods. We just didn't have any money. Or a lot of stuff to sell anymore. I decided to make another call, though, to see where we could end up here. We did have some material, animal fur. We had a ton of extra gold, too. Turns out we were going to need more plasteel, so I bought what I could of that. I still had traps to rebuild. There were pigs to haul, so I got all the repair work done. Traps rebuilt. Marjot chilled out and had a beer, and I joined her and had myself a meal. We had a mountain of dead pigs. We had talked about salty food. Somehow felt like an interesting conversation. I worked on some power conduit for a while. We were going to have to move some of it around to get our other geothermal generator back connected to our power grid till I could get our ship reactor built. I tossed horseshoes. We went to bed. It had been too much. A couple busy days. Whole lot of traps being rebuilt. Mechanoids to the south are really doing some damage to the foliage. The mechanoids to the southwest, I guess that's the east. Some of them had been killed by the aliens. There was some gold in there. We knew we could get some uranium off that cryptosleep casket, but we'd have to battle for it. But we'll see. For now, things are quiet. Minus the imminent plant death. But we felt alright. And we felt like we were getting close to finally getting off this planet.